Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today for this talk about Agile loyalty. So Agile might feel like a new or an emerging concept, but it's actually 21 years old this spring. So, got the key to the door, it's can go have a drink in the States. I'm going to talk to you today about how the pace of change in the world has grown dramatically over the last 40 years since the advent of the internet, how that has driven changing customer expectations, and how an agile approach is therefore essential to continue to keep pace and therefore to continue to drive customer loyalty. It's long overdue that we looked at agile as really the only way to develop customer loyalty successfully in today's world. But before I get into that, I'll just introduce myself and the company that I represent, which is IAG Loyalty. IAG Loyalty manages the 4 programs of International Airlines Group and the Avios currency, which runs through them all. In addition to the currency, for partner businesses, we provide customer insight, employee loyalty tools, which is rewards and recognition using the Avios currency. And we also provide loyalty solutions for other programs. We've got over 1,000 partners and 35 million program members worldwide. So we consider ourselves the premium customer loyalty specialists. I head up our loyalty products and services team. I've been with the business for 4 years and with IAG for a total of 11. But in order to tell you about me, I actually need to start with a confession, which is that I'm a bit of an imposter. I'm here to talk to you about Agile. But actually, Agile was completely new to me around 3 years ago when I joined our digital team. Prior to that, I spent most of my career in commercial roles, very much doing the opposite of much of what I'm going to talk to you about today. Certainly, I was not a customer-centric thinker, and nor did I believe that that was central to success. But needless to say, I'm now a convert. I'm a very passionate convert. My eyes have been opened. So if you're sat there feeling a little dubious, I hear you. I've definitely been there, but I'm hoping I might be able to open your eyes a little today too. So in order to talk to you about Agile, I need to talk to you about why it matters. And that starts with the fact that we are living in a digital business era. These are the Gartner digital eras. So if we think about a time prior to the internet, in an analog world, business was driven by who you knew and word of mouth. When the web entered the scene, it opened up the opportunity for businesses to sell outside of their local sphere of influence. We then moved into an e-business era where companies used the internet to improve the way that they did things, and then entered a digital marketing era where businesses started to have online identities and to build relationships with a wide customer base. I don't think any of us could have predicted that that would lead to tweets about baked beans on Weetabix, but hey, that is the wonderful world that we live in. Over the last 3 digital eras, digital very much has been a means of doing business. So it has been the how. We're now in a digital business era, which means that everything we do to do with our companies, so design, testing, building, managing, recruiting for our businesses, is done using digital means. So digital very much has become what we do. And we are very quickly entering the autonomous era, where we will start doing business with things. So it's forecast that by 2024, there will be 8.4 billion digital voice assistants being used around the world. That's a number higher than the world's population. So these are becoming the interface between companies and their customers. So digital is fast becoming why we actually do business. Now, what all of this has enabled is a vastly different pace of change. And to bring that to life, let's take a look at how a typical legacy business compares to a modern, digitally optimized one. So in a typical traditional business, technology releases might happen once a month. Those releases could contain any number of changes, but for the purposes of this example, let's assume that on average, a release contains 10 changes. So that means we might expect 120 changes a year for customers. Now let's compare that to someone that's been through an agile transformation. And my favorite example to use here is the government digital service. So in the first year, they transformed 25 of the most used citizen processes. This is why doing your car tax just suddenly got a lot easier a few years ago. So the government digital service make roughly 18,250 changes a year across their portfolio. So a huge advancement in the pace of change. And if the government can do it, then really the rest of us have no excuse. So now let's compare that to some of the digital leaders. So Amazon do 48,000 changes per team each year. And as you can imagine, they have hundreds of teams. And then here is the truly scary example. So Booking.com do so many changes to their site that at any one time, there are more versions of the site live in front of customers than there have ever been human beings on the planet. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that number, but it's equal to 10 to the 300. So, big. What does this pace of change do then to the experience for customers? Well, it just makes it super easy. So we've all been doing a lot of this over the last year, I'm sure. So open the Deliveroo app, select your pizza, use Apple Pay, and within a few minutes, you've got food on the way. Deliveroo is just one example of a business that has made purchasing from them extremely straightforward. And they do that by developing their capability at pace to keep pace with changing customer needs. This simplicity keeps customers coming back, so it keeps them loyal. Now, Deliveroo doesn't have access to any tools or talent that other companies don't have. They don't have access to anything unique. So what stops other businesses from developing at a similar pace? I think that there's actually a mode of thinking within traditional businesses that holds them back from moving at the kind of pace that Deliveroo and actually so many others can do. And I believe it's actually a self-fulfilling prophecy. So in so many businesses, and I've been there myself in my career, it can feel like it takes a lot of time to get things done. And so because it feels like that, then you better make sure you do the right thing. And in order to do the right thing, it'll need to be thoroughly analysed, and you'll need to make sure that everybody, all of your key stakeholders, sign up to it. But of course, because for every change, every decision, we're thoroughly analysing it, we're signing up multiple stakeholders, then it takes a lot of time to get things done. Now, does this actually lead us to better decisions, to delivering better things for our businesses and for our customers? I don't think so. In fact, I would argue that the opposite is true, because where is the customer in all of this? It's non-existent. You might argue that analysis would include customer data, or perhaps even customer research, but I would argue that even customer research isn't good enough. We all know that there's a chasm between what customers will tell you they will do and what they actually do. To quote one of my team, feedback is worth pennies, but reactions are worth gold. We need to test with customers in real time and use that, and not the opinion of the most senior person in the room, to drive decision making. So in short, less thinking, more action. You can flip this thinking around though. So what if instead you assumed that you could get things done and therefore undone quickly? Well, if that's true, then you might as well try it and see what happens, because real reactions will be far more valuable than assumptions, and you'll be able to use real data to decide whether or not you continue. And of course, that allows you to get things done and done quickly. This is an agile mindset. More than any of the tools and techniques of Agile, an Agile mindset is the most critical thing that you need to improve your pace of change. I think it's actually one of the most difficult things for companies to achieve when they don't already think this way, but it is well worth pursuing. So if you are pushing for this in your businesses, keep pushing, it pays off. I particularly like this quote, which is taken from The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. It's actually a slightly adapted version of his original, but it's think big, start small, learn fast. And that is Agile in a nutshell. We should always have the end vision in mind. We should always be thinking big, but our goal as organizations should be to change things in small increments, testing with customers and adapting continuously to respond to what we learn. And just to really hammer this home, the most important part of that phrase is start small. It's the thing that I find organizations and actually often senior leaders struggle with the most, because we've been raised in business to seek perfection in our propositions, but perfection is the enemy of progress. If there's one thing you take away from today, then getting obsessed, and I would say belligerent, with starting small is the most practical advice I can give you to embed Agile into your loyalty program development. A helpful way to think about how to start small is to ask this question. So what is the smallest possible thing you can do to prove or disprove your assumption? That does require you to get really honest about what you truly know and what is assumption. So that's a critical thing to think about as well. So we've talked about how the pace of change has shifted through the digital eras. What can loyalty specifically learn from the digital business era that we find ourselves in today? Well, one of the business models that has emerged really strongly in the digital business era are platform business models. Platforms provide the infrastructure to connect producers and consumers. So Uber is a really good example of a platform business. So it connects drivers with passengers, and there's a unit of value that's being exchanged there, which is a ride. As is very often quoted, Uber is the biggest taxi firm in the world and it doesn't own a single car, it simply provides the platform, the infrastructure. Another good example is Airbnb, so connecting homeowners with travelers. And another would be Spotify, connecting musicians and music producers with listeners. And I'm here to tell you that loyalty programs are also platform businesses. And I am focusing here on points-based loyalty programs. So they provide the infrastructure to connect partners with members, with points being that unit of value that flows in between. So actually, there's a hell of a lot that we can learn in loyalty from the Ubers and the Airbnbs of this world. So how do they ensure that they have continued success and growth of their business? I think a really big part of it is that they take friction out. So platform businesses are systems. Every part of the system is connected to every other. So friction in any part can slow the whole thing down and therefore dampen growth. With loyalty programs, when we think about what can cause friction, we should be thinking about things like lack of breadth in the proposition, manual processes for partners to join the program, inefficient journeys for customers to collect points, and slowness in the issuance of points to customer accounts. All of these things create friction in that system for partners and for customers, and therefore risk slowing the whole thing down. So there are some specific trends that we at IAG Loyalty are seeing in terms of how customer expectations from loyalty platforms are evolving. And they are these 7. So flexibility versus rules-based. Customers are expecting a level of flexibility in propositions that they haven't in the past. Payment and subscriptions-based. We really are seeing payment and loyalty collide. With subscriptions, you might think of that as a business model, and you're right, it is a business model, but it's one with loyalty baked in, with a commitment from a customer to long-term revenue with you. Omni-device journey. So customers have been using multiple devices for a lot of years now. That's definitely not new. But what we're seeing is an increasing expectation to be able to switch between devices seamlessly. So for example, starting a journey in one device, but finishing it in another. Curated content. So we live in a world of big data, and customers expect that businesses are using that data to personalize their propositions. CSR and well-being. We have a more socially conscious society than ever before, and I think younger generations are particularly leading the way in that. Customers want to give their business to companies that they see as responsible, increasingly so. Gamification, so something that we've seen many apps, but also even more so these days, other companies using widely to great effect to keep customers engaged and to keep them coming back to them. And lastly, trust and data security. Consumers are aware of the data that they generate online in a way that they haven't been in the past, and they want to feel confident that the companies that they interact with are treating their data in a secure way. Now, COVID-19 has only amplified these 7 trends. So we've seen unprecedented levels of flexibility from companies in order to accommodate the pandemic. We've seen an acceleration in the shift towards a cashless society, and in a similar vein, a growth in low contact tech. In a world where everyone's stuck at home, virtual proposition delivery has become important in a way that it hasn't been before. We've seen a huge focus in society on charity and mental health over the last year. Gaming as a social network. So we are seeing the worlds of gaming and social networks come together. And again, in a world where everyone's at home, gaming has become a really key way for people to connect with each other. And lastly, safety. So safety is a topic of conversation in a way that it probably wasn't pre-pandemic. So I want to give you some examples of how we at IAG Loyalty have responded to those 7 trends. So in terms of flexibility, you might have seen recently that we launched our new partnership with Sainsbury's and Nectar in the UK. For the first time, this allows two-way exchange of points. So Avios can be turned into Nectar and Nectar into Avios. So we are offering a level of flexibility to customers that we never have done before. Payment. So we've been growing our collect on card proposition. This allows BA Exec Club and Air Club customers to link any payment card, credit or debit, to their loyalty account. When they shop in store with one of our partners using that card, they automatically collect Avios. So that really fully integrates loyalty into payment. Omni-device. So we've launched dedicated loyalty apps on the BA Exec Club, Air Club and the Vueling Club app, Vueling Club now. This allows customers to interact seamlessly with their loyalty programs through their smartphones as well as online. It's also enabled us to embed the loyalty programs into the everyday lives of our customers. So using features like notifications when there's a special offer on one of their favorite retailers. Curated content. So this is our recommended retailers feature. We built an AI algorithm that recommends 5 brands that our members might want to shop with based on their previous shopping behaviors. We had a 93% accuracy rate with this, and that is measured by customers either shopping with or adding those brands to their favorites. So it was a really successful campaign for us. I should say that these were not my 5 recommended brands. These are definitely higher brow than the ones that I had, though I'm fairly sure Just Eat did also feature. Oh, sorry, charity then. So again, in the UK, you might have seen that we did our Thank You Avios campaign, which allowed our members to donate Avios to a pot that was then distributed to NHS heroes around the country. We had 95 million Avios donated to this campaign, which I think just really speaks to the strength of feeling towards the NHS in the country right now. Gamification then. So this is our speedy awarding feature. In the past, when a customer shopped online with one of our partners, Avios might not hit their account for another 30 or even up to 45 days. And what that allowed for was a returns period. What we did with speedy awarding was we took the risk and we reduced that time frame down to 5 days. So just bringing forward the dopamine hit that customers get from the reward that is linked to their shopping behavior. 50% of our online issuance now comes through the speedy awarding feature. So that's, again, just another really successful feature for us. And then lastly, trust. So as a loyalty solutions provider, one of the capabilities we offer is identity products. We've just launched the next generation of identity product on the Air Club. So just demonstrating to customers that we're continuing to invest in their data security. Just to finish up then, so we talked today about how the pace of change in the world has grown dramatically, how that's driven changing customer expectations, and how an agile approach to change is essential to continue to keep pace and therefore to continue to drive customer loyalty. I want to leave you with a quote from Winston Churchill that I think captures this beautifully, and that is, "To improve is to change, to be perfect is to change often." Thank you very much.